5 minutes later, Yun Yin dialed Jiang Yinyan's number. It was very quiet on the other end. Yun Yin didn't know where he was. She asked him as a matter of routine, "Am I disturbing you?" Jiang Yinyan said, "No, what is it?" See? Even he knew she would never actively contact him if she had nothing to do. Just as she was about to speak, Yun Yin heard Mora's voice on the phone. "Yin, hurry up. You're the only one missing at the dinner table." She heard Jiang Yinyan say, "You all start without me. I have something to deal with here." "Oh, Yinyan." Mora's voice faded away. Jiang Yinyan seemed to have moved to another spot, as Yinyan then heard someone greeting him, "Third young master." Jiang Yinyan responded with a faint and then asked Yunyan what was wrong again. Yunyan composed herself and briefly told him about Huang Jifa. Jiang Yinyan listened throughout the conversation. As Yunyan finished speaking, she vaguely heard a snap sound from the other end of the phone. It seemed to be the sound of lighting a cigarette. Sure enough, when Jiang Yinyan spoke, he seemed to exhale smoke, asking, "Qin Yuan Hotel?" Yunyan thought to herself, "So he smokes." She responded with an hum. "They've probably been in there for about 20 minutes. Jiang Yinyan pondered for a moment. "Just ask directly whatever you want to know. I'll have the hotel manager contact you." Yinyan gasped. Isn't that a bit inappropriate? It was too obvious. Jiang Yinyan was silent for a moment on his end, then said, "Never mind. Wait for my call." Yunyan uttered another "oh," thinking to herself that this would be for the best, otherwise it would attract criticism. Unexpectedly, Jiang Yinyan chuckled softly on the other end. "The hotel manager is single. I wouldn't want him to take the opportunity to ask for your contact information and have improper thoughts." Yunyan's heart felt as if it had been clutched by a hand. Her breath hitched. "You don't talk nonsense." Jiang Yinyan didn't get angry. A faint, light laugh came through. "Wait for my call." Yunyan hummed in acknowledgement. After ending the call, she thought about Mora just now. She must have been at the Jiang family's old mansion. How harmonious and joyful. She let out a soft, wry chuckle. Suddenly, she felt her actions were quite shameful. There was an unpleasant feeling in her heart. She didn't know why. She didn't go back inside, instead standing outside, observing the bustle of Financial Street. As the lights came on, neon and car headlights gradually filled the city's vibrancy. It wasn't the usual dinner time in a normal city, but it fit the Jiang family's routine. This was mainly because old Mrs. Jiang's daily schedule was very traditional. She rose at sunrise and rested at sunset, not eating anything after 6 p.m. and only having 2 meals a day. So, the Jiang family's dinner usually ended before 6. This was an unbreakable rule. Anyone who visited the Jiang family had to adhere to their schedule, and the Jiang family would never break this rule for anyone. Even the Mora family had to comply with old Mrs. Jiang's habits, didn't they? This could only mean that the Mora family was truly eager to facilitate this relationship and was quite satisfied with Jiang Yinyan as a son-in-law. Yinyan took a deep breath, looking at the luxury cars coming and going and the figures entering and exiting the high-end shopping malls. For a moment, she felt as if the superficial glamour of the world was very, very far away from her. Yuanzhou called. Knowing she was with Huang Tai, he chuckled and said, "Are you paving the way for your future?" Although Mrs. Huang has many connections, her focus is ultimately on her family. Yun Yin found a quieter spot, lowered her voice, and said, "I'm across from Qin Yuan Hotel. Mrs. Huang brought me here." Yuanzhou was very clever and understood instantly. After a long pause, he said, "My advice is not to get involved, but perhaps you have your own ideas. Whatever you do, I will support you." Yun Yin sighed. "I'll think about it." But actually, from the moment she called Jiang Yinyan, she had already become Huang Tai's ally. This path was long, and she couldn't predict what the future would hold. The two chatted briefly for a while, then another call came in. Yunyan thought it was Jiang Yinyan, but upon seeing the screen, it was Xiao Min, and she gasped softly. Yuanzhou on the other end thought something had happened to her and quickly asked what was wrong. She casually hung up Xiao Min's call and asked Yuanzhou, "Are you free tonight?" Yuanzhou smiled and asked, "Yes, what do you want to eat?" "I'll take you. I'm with Mrs. Huang. We'll definitely have dinner together," Yunyan said. "If you're free, please do me a favor." Jiang Yinyan's call came after Xiao Min's. Yunyan hadn't finished explaining some things to Yuanzhou, so she initially hung up Jiang Yinyan's call. He called again shortly after, and Yunyan had just finished speaking with Yuanzhou, so she answered. Jiang Yinyan asked, "Who are you talking to?" There was no displeasure, but it was clearly very assertive. Yunyan was surprised. Huang Jifa is so generous. Qin Yuan's room, the one in the city center, which is the one opposite her, has an average price of around 15,000 per night. Qin Yuan in the suburbs is even more expensive, with an average price of over 30,000 per night. "What type of room?" Yunyan asked curiously. Jiang Yinyan said, "Executive suite." Yunyan thought, Huang Jifa loves face, so it's impossible for him to just book a king-size bedroom. How much is an executive suite per night? Jiang Yinyan said, not sure. Yun Yin was stunned. Didn't you invest in the hotel? Jiang Yinyan didn't hide it from her, but he was a little amused when answering her question. It's true that I invested in the hotel, but I'm not in charge of the specific management, and the room pricing is handled by the market side. Yun Yin thought so too. Then I won't ask you. I'm hanging up. Wait, Jiang Yinyan said. Are you planning to get involved in Huang Jifa's matter? Jiang Yinyan asked her directly. This question was refreshingly straightforward, just like Jiang Yinyan. It made Yun Yin admire him. He really saw things to the point. Yun Yin pondered, I haven't thought that far ahead. I just want to help inquire about what's happening now. Jiang Yinyan chuckled softly. Yun Yin felt a little embarrassed hearing this. She cleared her throat. Thank you. After all, she only found out through him. Otherwise, the hotel would definitely not have informed her. Verbal thanks. Jiang Yinyan's tone was a little mischievous. Yun Yin wasn't nervous even over the phone. She smiled. Young Master Yan's fiancé is still by his side, so I can only express my gratitude verbally. As expected, there was silence on the other end of the phone. Yun Yin pursed her lips slightly. She knew how to end a conversation. But Jiang Yinyan didn't seem to want to hang up. Yun Yin thought for a moment and then smiled again. Young Master Yin must have a family dinner. It's not good to keep everyone waiting, so I won't delay your time. You need to think carefully. Jiang Yinyan suddenly spoke. Yun Yin was slightly startled. Then she heard Jiang Yinyan continue. Have you thought about the consequences of getting involved in Huang Jifa's matter? You're putting your bets on Mrs. Huang. What if she's just a lost cause? Yun Yin's heart secretly skipped a beat. For a moment, she really suspected that Jiang Yinyan had installed a camera on her, or rather, he was glitching in her stomach. Her inner calculations were seen through by him so casually. After a while, she said, I still know Mrs. Huang's character. Besides, she saw Huang Jifa embracing that girl and entering your hotel with her own eyes today. She didn't hide her thoughts from Jiang Yinyan. This person was too sharp, so it was better to be frank, because she was sure of one thing. Jiang Yinyan would not stand on the same front as Huang Jifa. Jiang Yinyan smiled. You make it sound like it's my fault. I don't believe you didn't know about this before. Yun Yin said. Jiang Yinyan said, I did hear about it, but I didn't pay attention. It has nothing to do with me. Yun Yin oh-ed and didn't say much. It was Jiang Yinyan who brought the topic back to Mrs. Huang. I've seen many cases like this, where one party cheats and the other wants a divorce. Most of them end up getting stuck on asset division, especially since the Huang family is an arranged marriage. It's very difficult for Mrs. Huang to get what she wants. This path often leads to compromise in the end. Yun Yin, I don't want you to waste your time on this matter. Yun Yin understood what Jiang Yinyan meant. That is, after all the hard work, Mrs. Huang might still decide to return to her family, and she would end up doing thankless work. It's possible. And just as Jiang Yinyan said, the more family alliances there are, the deeper the interests involved, and it's very difficult to completely separate unless one party can readily give up their interests. But how is that possible? After a long while, Yun Yin sighed and said, I know. Before hanging up, Jiang Yinyan asked her another question. Are you near Qin Yuan? Of course. Coming with Mrs. Huang to catch him in the act, right? Jiang Yinyan said. The executive chef at Qin Yuan's top-floor restaurant has been replaced by a Michelin-starred one. You could try dinner there tonight. I'll have the restaurant manager arrange it. No. I'm eating with Mrs. Huang tonight. Yun Yin immediately refused. Her heart felt strange for a moment. Jiang Yinyan was silent for a moment. Okay. After the call ended, Yun Yin felt a heavy weight in her heart. Jiang Yinyan's words were light, but what she heard was the difficult path Mrs. Huang would face. She just didn't know if Mrs. Huang could persevere. She checked the hotel's room rates on her phone, but couldn't book online. She found the hotel's number and called directly, inquiring about the price of an executive suite. Yun Yin admitted that she was indeed curious. She was told that the executive suite's room rate today was $25,000, and the other party, thinking she wanted to book a room, asked if she was a member of Qin Yuan. Yun Yin quickly made an excuse and hung up the phone. A room costing $25,000 a night, nearly $800,000 a month, and it's a long-term package. And this is just the room fee, not to mention the money Huang Jifa spent on that girl. Just looking at the big and small bags he was carrying earlier, Yun Yin, who used to frequent these places, could tell what was inside just by looking at the bags. Bags and clothes, all very expensive. No wonder it aroused Mrs. Huang's suspicion. Dinner was arranged by Mrs. Huang, precisely on the top floor of the Qin Yuan Hotel, which Yun Yin hadn't expected. This evening wasn't just dinner for the two of them. Mrs. Huang had also invited someone. Yun Yin didn't want to join the fun and wanted to leave, but Mrs. Huang pulled her and wouldn't let her go. I know you don't like eating with strangers, but I haven't invited outsiders. They're all family, don't worry. Since Mrs. Huang had said so, Yun Yin couldn't refuse again. But she didn't go to the restaurant right away. Mrs. Huang chatted with Yun Yin for a long time in the coffee shop, all about Huang Jifa. Finally, she said, for dinner, women should be the protagonists, and a protagonist arriving a little late makes it seem more grand. Soon, Yunyin understood the meaning behind Mrs. Huang's words. The person Mrs. Huang invited was her nephew from her maternal family, surnamed Su Huai. When Yunyin first heard Mrs. Huang introduce him, she thought, what a Qiong Yao-esque name. In fact, Su Huai fit the profile of a novel's male lead. His appearance was naturally impeccable, tall and handsome, highly educated, and after returning from abroad, he served as the deputy director of neurosurgery at a top-tier hospital in Beishur, a highly paid talent parachuted in, with a promising future at a young age. Mrs. Huang whispered to Yunyin, you also know that our Su family are all in business. Only my nephew is unconventional and likes medicine, but he is an only child, and his family's business is very big. Su Huai is a very good child, and I think he will help the Yu family when necessary. Yunyin immediately understood Mrs. Huang's intentions. This was a blatant matchmaking attempt. Yunyin was torn between laughter and tears, just as she was about to remind Mrs. Huang not to play Cupid haphazardly. Mrs. Huang cut her off. I'm not forcing you. Just treat it as meeting another friend. What's wrong with having more friends? Yunyin sighed inwardly. Su Huai was very clean. Clean from the inside out. That was Yunyin's impression of him after sitting down. His shirt was well-tailored and simple, making him look tall and upright. There was a hint of aloofness in his eyes and brows, but a slight smile added tenderness. When he reached out to shake her hand, his palm was cool and polite and very comfortable. Perhaps it was the faint smell of disinfectant on him, mixed with the clean scent of soap, which made him appear neat yet unthreatening. Su Huai knew her. How could he not know the famous Yu family's young miss? Although he was in medicine, at his root, he was still an insider in the circle. Yunyin just smiled throughout, occasionally saying a word or two. Su Huai wasn't as ostentatious as she imagined, despite his achievements in his career. On the contrary, he was very humble. Mrs. Huang kept praising Su Huai from the side, and her intentions couldn't be clearer. My nephew was a bookworm when he studied abroad. Unlike other students who had romantic thoughts in their heads, he completely lacked that gene, so he's quite old now and doesn't even have a girlfriend. Praising indirectly while seemingly criticizing. But fortunately, Mrs. Huang had a sense of proportion and knew that haste makes waste. Moreover, not informing Yunyin about this beforehand was indeed impolite, so she tried to keep the atmosphere as relaxed as possible. Su Huai said gently, actually, I knew Annie was with Miss Yu, so I asked Annie to bring Miss Yu over. This is my fault. Yunyin didn't know what to say for a moment, and finally smiled and said, it's nothing. Mrs. Huang is right. It's good to meet another friend. Mrs. Huang said from the side, that's right. You're so young. You can't have too many friends. Su Huai asked Yunyin what she usually liked, where she liked to go, and other questions aimed at getting to know each other. If it were an ordinary blind date, Yunyin might only focus on the food and would vaguely answer Su Huai's questions with hum and aha. But with Mrs. Huang involved, she couldn't be too perfunctory, so she tried to be as polite and gracious as possible. Until they talked about Su Huai's work, Yunyin finally felt rescued. She cleverly threw out a medical question, and then Su Huai could explain for a long time, and she only needed to echo with, oh, I see, it could be like that, how amazing, and so on. However, Su Huai was also professional, explaining medical issues with ease. He was quite humorous and witty, and even told Yunyin various stories that happened when he was in medical school, which Yunyin found quite amazing. Mrs. Huang was very pleased to see them chatting so well, and the more she looked, the more she felt that this pair was so well-matched. Yes, a good girl should live a good life. Actually, she had selfish motives. Moreover, Mrs. Huang believed that with Yunyin's intelligence, she could guess that she had selfish motives. She couldn't guess the unusual relationship between Yunyin and Jiang Yinyin, but the previous engagement between the Yu and Jiang families was there. Even though they were heading towards breaking off the engagement now, Jiang Yinyin was still Jiang Zhe's uncle, and his status was there. The two were bound to not be together. If it were another girl getting entangled with a Jiang family like this, Mrs. Huang would definitely not drag her family into it, but Yunyin was different. It was Yunyin's difference from other girls that Mrs. Huang admitted she had an emotional component due to the kindness she had received from Mrs. Yu in the past. But at the same time, she could also see a stubborn streak in Yunyin. She was not a hothouse flower. In her eyes, Yunyin was a treasure, just not yet discovered. And most importantly, Mrs. Huang intended to tie herself to Yunyin. She admired Yunyin and liked her personality. Isn't this kind of magnetic connection what people look for in relationships? The meal lasted quite late. Although Yunyin wasn't interested in the blind date, she still admired Su Huai, especially after hearing him describe a complex surgery. She had seen that surgery on the trending topics. The news didn't mention the name of the chief surgeon, only referring to them as the chief surgeon. It was said that this was the chief surgeon's request, not wanting to publicize themselves. That surgery lasted 8 hours, with a cardiac surgeon as the lead, along with other departments, literally snatching a person back from the clutches of death. At the time, the patient's family was so moved that they immediately knelt down in gratitude, a scene that was also documented in the news. When Yunyin saw the news, she thought that chief surgeon was truly amazing, and she never expected to sit across from them tonight. While chatting, Yunyin sharply spotted Huang Jifa. He was still embracing that young girl as they approached the restaurant. Yunyin knew very well that this was probably a major reason why Mrs. Huang chose this restaurant. Her husband was having an affair with another woman in this hotel, and she couldn't make a scene, but she couldn't fail to declare her sovereignty. The restaurant was quiet, and the tables didn't disturb each other. Yunyin was worried. What would Mrs. Huang do if Huang Jifa and the girl really bumped into her? In fact, she worried too much. Mrs. Huang's handbag fell to the floor, and she let out an ouch. That single sound was particularly noticeable in the otherwise quiet environment. Guests at other tables looked over, including Huang Jifa, who was standing at the door. Yunyin secretly observed Huang Jifa's reaction, and sure enough, he was very flustered, clearly not expecting his wife to be in this restaurant. He quickly let go of the girl in his arms. The young girl was quite reluctant, but when Huang Jifa gestured and she saw Mrs. Huang, she reluctantly found a corner to sit down and poured herself a glass of water. At the same time, Su Huai also saw Huang Jifa, waved in his direction, and softly called out, "Uncle." Yunyin's gaze subtly fell on Su Huai's face, and she immediately understood. These nephew and auntie were quite seamless in their cooperation. It seems Su Huai had also long known that Huang Jifa had problems. Indeed, they were as cunning as a hornet's nest. But it wasn't a bad thing, Yunyin could understand. Just as Mrs. Huang said, no matter how distinguished a Dr. Su Huai was, he came from a merchant family, and, at his core, he was still a businessman. Huang Jifa chuckled and stepped forward. Mrs. Huang had also picked up her handbag. Upon seeing Huang Jifa, she was surprised. "Honey, what are you doing here?" It was truly unexpected. Huang Jifa said he had an appointment with a client to discuss business in the executive lounge, and after the meeting, he happened to see them from the floor-to-ceiling window and came over. "Didn't you drink?" Mrs. Huang intentionally leaned closer, and there's a scent of perfume. Huang Jifa's face was awkward. "Don't talk nonsense in front of our nephew. Our family has strict rules. I don't dare to drink easily outside now. There are so many men and women in the executive lounge. It's normal to get perfume on me." Yunyin thought. "You didn't drink any less when you were plying Yuan Zhou with alcohol. Did you two make plans? That's not fair, not inviting me." Huang Jifa chuckled again. Mrs. Huang said, "You're so busy every day. How could I get you to come? Luckily, Miss Yu has been keeping me company these past 2 days I've been in Beishur, so I haven't been lonely. I can't count on you." Today, Su Huai just happened to be off work, and he lives nearby, so we simply made a reservation at this restaurant. Huang Jifa wasn't stupid. He glanced at Yunyin and then at Su Huai, and said with a smile, "Wife, are you playing matchmaker?" "I say, old Huang, you're getting more and more muddled. Some things are better left unsaid." Mrs. Huang complained. Huang Jifa repeatedly apologized. Sorry, what a mouth I have. You two continue. How can they continue with you stirring things up like this?" Mrs. Huang feigned helplessness. As Huang Jifa was about to say something else, a sweet voice came from behind him. "Hello, Mr. Huang." Yunyin turned to look, and sure enough, the young girl couldn't stand it anymore and took the initiative to greet him. However, after greeting him, the girl's eyes lit up when she saw Su Huai. Who wouldn't be tempted by a handsome man? Yunyin thought, this young girl is quite bold. Is she trying to force a confession? Huang Jifa was startled. On the surface, he was startled by the sudden voice, but in reality, Yunyin knew why he was startled. Who wouldn't feel guilty? Huang Jifa looked at the young girl. "Ah," he said, and then, after a long time, he started playing dumb. "You are?" Mrs. Huang didn't say anything, just watched the situation unfold with a smile. Yunyin also joined the spectators. At this moment, if she suggested leaving, it would be too obvious, so it was better to pretend she knew nothing. She inadvertently glanced at Su Huai, and their eyes met. A faint smile flickered in his eyes. Clearly he had seen through her thoughts. Mr. Huang, your memory is so bad? We met this afternoon." Anin covered her mouth and smiled, her eyes filled with flirtatious charm. Yunyin was simply amazed just by watching. As expected of someone who made their debut, her every move and little glance were truly captivating. Huang Jifa's forehead was faintly sweating, and he let out another "ah," then an "in." Clearly, the situation was too sudden, catching him off guard. Could he remain calm? Anan's words had a hidden meaning. They had indeed met in the afternoon, and weren't they both going into the hotel that afternoon? Yunyin thought Huang Jifa's skills weren't good enough. His acting was clearly not as good as Anan's. Mrs. Huang took a step forward, stood beside Huang Jifa, and asked curiously, honey. With that honey, Yunyan saw a clear stiffening at the corner of An's mouth. You are? Huang Jifa's acting finally returned at this moment. He feigned understanding and pointed at An. I remember now, I thought you looked familiar. Wife, he turned to Mrs. Huang and briefly introduced. Didn't I mention investing in a model agency to you before? She's a new artist signed by the company. I had a meeting at the company this afternoon and met all the new people. Look at my memory. Mrs. Huang suddenly understood and smiled at An. No wonder she's so beautiful. How old is the little girl? And then looked at Mrs. Huang. I'm 19. Only 19? Mrs. Huang was surprised and looked at Huang Jifa. Honey, isn't she too young to meet the signing requirements? Huang Jifa was about to speak when he heard An say, Mrs. Huang, you don't understand. In our line of work, it's important to become famous early. Besides, I'm already an adult, and I have the right to decide on things like signing contracts. Moreover, the younger we are, the more opportunities we get. When we're old and faded, there will be no opportunities left. Don't you agree, Mr. Huang? Huang Jifa's face changed slightly. Yunyan understood from the side that this young girl was really bold in her speech. That's right. Mrs. Huang's emotions were quite stable. Her smile remained composed, and she said softly to An, it's tough in your line of work. It's basically eating youth. The competition is also fierce. This year you're a newcomer, and next year there will be new ones following up. If you don't seize opportunities while you're young, you can easily be washed away by the tide of new talents. Hearing this, An pursed her lips tightly. Yunyan sighed. The young girl was still a bit naive. Mrs. Huang hadn't finished yet, and then smiled. I really envy young people. How wonderful it is to have a goal to strive for and a dream to pursue. An, who hadn't gained anything just now, naturally felt uncomfortable, so she quickly took the opportunity to retort. We have no choice but to work hard. It's not like Mrs. Huang, who can comfortably stay at home. For me, my only capital is my youth. She covered her mouth and chuckled again. Youth is capital, isn't it, Mr. Huang? Huang Jifa's face was getting uglier and uglier. Yunyan coughed lightly from the side, interjecting softly. Of course youth is capital. Everyone goes through their youth. However, she looked at An, right? You said something quite right. Not every girl can achieve Mrs. Huang's status through hard work and struggle in her youth. Some people work hard for a long time only to find they've gained nothing. And it was rebutted again, her face frozen this time. Just as she was about to say something, Yunyan smiled. However, this is also thanks to Mr. Huang. An, you're new so you might not know, but your Mr. Huang dotes on his wife so much, he's pampered her from their youth until now, just afraid that Mrs. Huang would suffer even a little injustice. Just now he was even apologizing to Mrs. Huang, saying he had a strong perfume smell on him and didn't know whose it was, and that the executive lounge was so chaotic with all sorts of men and women. Huang Jifa's mouth twitched, forcing a smile, and then stared at Huang Jifa, her eyes practically spitting fire. At this moment, Su Huai spoke up. Since everyone knows each other, why don't we sit down and have dinner together? It was a brilliant finishing touch. Yunyan thought Su Huai was truly clever. Sure enough, how could Huang Jifa really let him sit down and eat with them? He quickly said to Mrs. Huang, You're wrong. Why are you meddling in young people's affairs? Mrs. Huang smiled, gently took his arm. I'm just bored and wanted to join in the fun. You're not busy now, are you? If not, let's leave them to it. Yunyan secretly sighed. Huang Jifa was eager to leave. The situation made his back tingle with chills. He repeatedly said, Good, good, good. Mrs. Huang looked at An, as if just remembering. I almost forgot. An, how are you getting home? Where do you live? We can give you a ride. An immediately said, No need. I'm staying at the hotel. Mrs. Huang, oh. Eden didn't ask further. An, not one to mince words, added, My boyfriend booked the room for me. Huang Jifa's gaze flickered to An's face, a mix of nervousness and warning. Mrs. Huang smiled faintly and didn't ask any more questions. She looked at Huang Jifa. Since An is staying here, we don't need to worry about her. Let's go. By the way, honey, I saw a watch that I think would go perfectly with your new custom-made suit. The store manager is waiting. Let's go take a look. And just like that, she left with Huang Jifa. After An also left, only Yunyan and Su Huai remained at the dining table. By all appearances, it seemed like a true blind date. Su Huai was very proactive. Miss you, would it be convenient to exchange contact information? Yunyan thought for a moment, then, raising her eyes, decided to be frank. Dr. Su, just call me Su Huai. All right, Su Huai, Yunyan said softly. Now that it's just the two of us, I think it's better to be clear. Okay, you speak. Su Huai was very gentlemanly. Yunyan found him extremely well-mannered, and for a moment, felt awkward speaking. But no matter how awkward she felt, she had to say it. After all, This matter was too significant to joke about. I have no intention of pursuing a relationship with you, Yunyin said softly. Su Huai, we're not a good match. Su Huai showed no anger, nor the slightest hint of surprise. He quietly asked, in what way do you think we're not a good match? Yunyin paused. In what way were they not a good match? In truth, whether considering his appearance or family background, Su Huai was irreproachable. Furthermore, he was Mrs. Huang's nephew, and Yunyin had seen firsthand Mrs. Huang's character, so Su Huai's moral standing was, to a certain extent, very much guaranteed. After a slight pause, Yunyin said, you've really put me on the spot, but I think that for two people to be together, there needs to be a feeling. Su Huai softly said, I know about your broken engagement with the Jiang family. I can wait. It's not like that. This is between you and me. It has nothing to do with the Jiang family. Yunyin didn't let him lead the conversation, maintaining her own pace. You're a good person and very accomplished, but I just don't have feelings for you. Su Huai seemed amused by her. This is our first meeting. It's normal that you haven't fallen for me yet. Yunyin said, Su Huai, although I don't believe in a lot of love at first sight in this world, I also clearly know that if we force it from the beginning, this melon won't be sweet. Love can also grow over time, Su Huai gently said. There's more than one way for love to begin. Yunyin shook her head, smiling. I've always believed that what grows over time is merely affection. While affection includes love, love itself is pure and direct, something that makes people infatuated and passionate, whereas affection contains too many other emotions. Su Huai sighed. All right, I can't argue with you, but Yunyin, I still hope you'll consider me. Perhaps we can start as friends. For a moment, Yunyin didn't know what else to say. She felt she had already stated her refusal quite definitively. She couldn't possibly expose her own flaws, could she? As she was pondering, footsteps approached from outside the restaurant. Yunyin instinctively glanced towards the restaurant entrance. A group of people was escorting a man inside, dressed in a dark gray shirt. The man's features appeared noble and refined. He stood out like a crane among a flock of chickens. Yunyin froze. Asterisk Jiang Yunyin? Isn't he at the old residence? Why is he here? Asterisk she subconsciously looked beside him, but Mo La was nowhere to be seen. Su Huai also heard the commotion and looked over, scanning the man in the crowd. Then his gaze discreetly settled on Yunyin's face. Yunyin's eyes didn't linger on Jiang Yunyin for long, aside from her initial shock. After her gaze pulled away, she vaguely felt Jiang Yunyin had glanced in their direction, but perhaps it was just a misconception. Logically, her and Su Huai's table was quite inconspicuous. One shouldn't be able to see her unless deliberately looking. Her gaze had pulled back, but Yunyin kept wondering. Asterisk, why did Jiang Yunyin come here? Business? At this hour, what kind of business could it be? Asterisk. Yunyin. Su Huai softly called her name. Yunyin gasped, looking up at him. Su Huai had sharp eyes and noticed something in her reaction. Young Master Yan of the capital city. His aura is indeed quite powerful. Yunyin blurted out, you know him? She felt a bit silly asking. Su Huai answered quite seriously. Some of the Su family's projects overlap with the Jiang family's. Who in the entire business world doesn't know young Master Yan? Yunyin gently clutched her fork, sighing inwardly. Yes, indeed, it's not just the business world that knows him. Are you worried about the broken engagement? Su Huai, seeing her low spirits, proactively asked about it. I heard the Jiang family has been slow to respond. The engagement between the Yu and Jiang families was a matter of public interest. After Jiang Zhe and Ji Zi's affair became known, speculation about the two families' marriage intensified. Yunyin had even publicly stated that she had no connection with Jiang Zhe, but an arranged marriage wasn't something that could be undone just because someone declared it so. The Yu and Jiang families had once held a grand engagement banquet, making it known to all. Now that it was falling apart, the Yu family had made its stance clear, but the Jiang family also needed to reciprocate for the engagement to be truly dissolved. Otherwise, it would remain unclear. No worries, Yunyin smiled faintly. It will be broken off sooner or later. This is also a fact. The fundamental reason the Jiang family had been slow to respond was due to old Mrs. Jiang's lingering sentiments. So if Yunyin owed anyone an apology, old Mrs. Jiang was first and foremost. Su Huai seemed to have been waiting for that very sentence. He softly said, so, Yunyin, you'll start a new life sooner or later, won't you? An internationally renowned symphony orchestra came to Beishur, which was Xiao Min's most anticipated performance. So a month in advance, she booked front row tickets and dragged Yunyin along. Yunyin actually quite liked that orchestra. She had gone with classmates to see them perform when she was studying abroad. The live performance was quite spectacular, and when it ended, as all the audience members stood up to applaud the musicians, Yunyin, even as just one audience member, felt deeply moved. Xiao Min was eager to see it, and Yunyin had promised to accompany her to enjoy it again. As a result, Yun completely forgot the appointment she had made a month in advance. Her excuse to herself was that too much had happened this past month. So much so that every day felt rushed and hectic, and she had forgotten about matters of romance and leisure. But how could she possibly stand up Xiao Min on this? If she dared, Xiao Min would truly strangle her. When Yuan Zhou arrived at the concert hall, Xiao Min was already there, engrossed in looking at merchandise, specifically commemorative vinyl records released by the orchestra. Yuan Zhou watched her repeatedly pick one up and look at it, before finally putting it back silently in the display area. He found it strange, so he walked up and said, "If you like it, just buy it." She certainly looked like she liked it. Xiao Min jumped, turning her head to see Yuan Zhou's face, which startled her again. She stumbled back 2 steps, as if she'd seen a ghost, pointing at him. What? Yuan Zhou was amused by her reaction. Crossing his arms, he tilted his head to look at her. "What about Emma? Why are you here? Where's your sister?" Xiao Min was quite nervous, looking behind him and all around. Yuan Zhou pursed his lips and smiled faintly. "She didn't come. She sent me." "Ah." Xiao Min looked stunned, then displeased. "Your sister, she's really something. I knew she'd forget. I even reminded her 3 days ago." Yuan Zhou chuckled. "When you make plans with her, it's best to nag her about it the day before, and then make several consecutive calls on the day itself." Xiao Min sighed. Yuan Zhou smiled and stepped forward, reaching out to take her hand. "All right, isn't she actively making up for it? It's the same if I listen with you." Xiao Min looked down at his hand holding her wrist, and her heart began to thump again. She thought to herself, Yun, you're really something? I don't believe you don't know I like your brother, and I don't believe you don't know your brother doesn't like me. And you sent him a hover in front of me? Aren't you intentionally torturing me? Asterisk. The main thing is, do you even like listening to this? Xiao Min asked helplessly. Yuan Zhou pondered for a moment. Whether I like it or not, we'll see after I try. Because Jiang Yinyan was there, Yunyan didn't want to linger in the restaurant. After firmly expressing her refusal to Su Huai, he didn't insist further, offering to drive her home. It's late, and it's not safe for a girl to go home alone. I'll drop you off at your residential complex, and then leave. Su Huai, fearing her refusal, added, even as mere friends, this is what I should do. Yunyan thought for a moment and nodded. Just as the two were about to leave, Yunyan's path was blocked. It was old Lu. Yunyan's heart skipped a beat, thinking, I didn't see old Lu just now. Miss you. Young Master Yin requests your presence. Yunyan felt somewhat uncomfortable. Su Huai decided to play the hero, stepping forward and meeting old Lu's gaze. It's very late. Isn't young Master Yan's action inappropriate? Old Lu completely ignored Su Huai, his gaze coldly sweeping over Su Huai's face before settling back on Yunyan's. Please, miss you. From the moment Jiang Yinyan stepped into the restaurant, Yunyan's heart had been pounding. She had a strong premonition that Jiang Yinyan had actually seen her. When old Lu blocked her path, she knew her earlier premonition had been correct. Yunyan stopped Su Huai as he was about to say more. She softly said, Thank you, Su Huai, but it's all right. Young Master Yin is here on behalf of old Mrs. Jiang to discuss the broken engagement with me. Old Lu stood expressionless beside them. Su Huai hesitated. He's here to discuss the broken engagement with you. He's Jiang Zai's uncle, Yunyan softly explained. He's also an elder of the Jiang family. Su Huai understood. Old Lu urged in a flat tone. Miss you. Seeing old Lu's expression, a faint unease welled up in Yunyan. She made an effort to maintain a smile and said to Su Huai, Thank you for dinner tonight. It was a subtle goodbye. Su Huai actually didn't want to leave Yunyan alone there, but seeing her resolve, he had no choice but to give up. As he left, he was still worried and proactively pulled out his phone, dialing a few numbers. Soon, Yunyan's phone vibrated. She took it out and saw an unfamiliar number. This is my number. Call me anytime if you need anything, Su Huai said softly. Yunyan was surprised. Yes, I admit, I wanted to get to know you for a long time, Su Huai said softly. Yunyan felt that saying this in front of old Lu was really not appropriate. Old Lu lightly coughed beside them, his meaning very clear. Finally, after seeing Su Huai off, Yunyan followed old Lu deeper into the restaurant. When they were alone, old Lu's tone softened. He quietly said, Young Master Yin is in a bad mood tonight. Yunyan's footsteps faltered. Old Lu slightly turned his head to glance at her. Let's go, old Lu. Yunyan was nervous, quickening her steps to catch up with him. She whispered, Why is he in a bad mood? Asterisk, it couldn't be because he saw her dining with another man? Could it? But that would be a complete misunderstanding. She only realized it later. Okay. Asterisk. Old Lu caught the anxiety in her eyes, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. He said, Because of some external matters. Yunyan's heart, which had been heavy, immediately lightened upon hearing this. But before that thought could fully settle, old Lu casually added, and misuse activities tonight too. Yunyan's heart instantly tensed up again. Seeing her panic, old Lu felt a little reluctant to press further and offered some neutral advice. There's no harm in explaining things properly. Is there really no harm? Jiang Yinyan was in a private room at the end of the restaurant corridor, very private and undisturbed. When Yinyan followed old Lu into the room, she inexplicably felt a chill. Jiang Yinyan wasn't the only one in the private room. But on the sofa, only Jiang Yinyan sat alone. He wasn't dining, and the large dining table in the main area hadn't been served. The private room had a scenic view. Outside the window, neon lights outlined the bustling prosperity of a large part of Beishur. Behind Jiang Yinyan was a large floor-to-ceiling window. He sat there, with moonlight showering down on his shoulders, looking as if he had emerged from darkness, his expression indifferent yet profound and cold. Besides old Lu, there were 3 bodyguards in the room, each standing with hands clasped behind their backs, their faces cold. A man was kneeling on the floor. To say he was kneeling would be an exaggeration. Crouched in a fetal position would be a more accurate description. He wore a uniform, but Yunyan couldn't make out his face as he kept his head bowed. She could only see his messy hair, now free of hairspray. What happened? Yunyan was suspicious. She looked closely at the man's uniform and realized, no wonder it looked familiar. Isn't this the uniform of Qin Yuan Hotel? Is this person an employee of the hotel? Seeing her arrive, Jiang Yinyan raised a hand and gestured to her. Come here. Yunyan felt uneasy, unsure what would happen next. She slowly walked forward, and after only 2 steps, she heard a faint click. Looking down, she saw she had accidentally stepped on a name tag. It read, Hotel Lobby Manager, Aaron. Being a lobby manager at Qin Yuan Hotel was quite an impressive position. Yunyan discreetly walked up to Jiang Yinyan, her head lowered. Jiang Yinyan raised a hand and gently took her wrist, then looked up at her, appearing gentle. Are you full? Yunyan's breathing gradually quickened. Meeting his enigmatic gaze, she whispered, It's all right. All right. Jiang Yinyan slightly raised an eyebrow. You were just focused on chatting? It's a shame you didn't properly savor the skills of a chef Michelin would be scrambling to keep. Yinyan deliberately moved a little closer to him and said in a softer voice, Next time, you can take me to properly try it. Mrs. Huang was also dining at this restaurant for the first time, and she wasn't sure what the signature dishes were, so tonight was just a random ordering spree. Jiang Yinyan said nothing. Watching her, his thin lips pressed together. Yunyan could smell alcohol on him. Though faint, it was a fact that he had been drinking. Her mind raced. Judging from their phone call earlier, Jiang Yinyan must have done his drinking at the old residence. If they could chat freely to the point of drinking in the old mansion, shouldn't she have been very happy? The Jiang family's old mansion had many rules, and there were quite a few regarding drinking at the dinner table. If the conversation wasn't agreeable, they absolutely couldn't touch the wine glasses. Yunyan couldn't fathom what had happened in the old mansion, nor could she guess Jiang Yinyan's thoughts, but he smelled of alcohol, and his brow carried a hint of coolness, which made Yunyan decide it was best to be cautious. Old Lu's earlier reminder had been full of veiled allusions, but its actual meaning was to warn her not to clash with Master Yin. In other words, Master Yin responded to gentleness, not force. Yunyan spoke softly, her brows curving, touched with tenderness. Jiang Yinyan's eyes showed no irritation, and he simply said, All right. Then he gently pulled her wrist, and she was smoothly pulled onto his lap. This posture, in front of everyone, seemed very intimate, making Yunyan quite uncomfortable, but Jiang Yinyan didn't seem to mind in the slightest. The bodyguards present kept their eyes straight ahead, no one daring to look their way. Jiang Yinyan embraced Yunyan, one arm encircling her slender waist, his rough thumb rubbing her subtly, almost imperceptibly, while his other hand rested on the sofa armrest, his wrist bones appearing sexy. His gaze fell on the kneeling man, and he spoke in a light tone. What did I say once? Aaron trembled all over, stammering out a plea for mercy. Master Yan, I wouldn't dare again. Please, be magnanimous and give me another chance. Old Lu walked up to him and kicked him. Give you a chance? Didn't Master Yin give you chances before? And what was the result? Not only did you not appreciate it, but you secretly instigated people to cause trouble at the construction site. Master Yin hates people who cause him trouble the most. How can you still shamelessly ask Master Yin for another chance? I was instigated by others, Master Yin. I really wasn't the leader. The man looked up and pleaded bitterly. Though Yin didn't recognize the man, Old Lu's words gave her some understanding of the situation. There was a piece of land in the northern suburbs of the city, said to be a project the Jiang family had invested in years ago, but it had been shelved indefinitely due to lack of development. That area had once been an abandoned factory with staff dormitories. After the workers left, many homeless people had occupied the dorms. Last year, the land was officially approved for development, with plans to build a large shopping mall. During the site clearance, The homeless people protested, saying they were seizing the territory of vulnerable groups. As for how the Jiang family handled it later, Yunyan didn't know. She had only heard a few snippets. But when the mall opened in the middle of the year, someone actually jumped from the upper floor. Although they were saved by the fire safety equipment at the time, and their life wasn't in danger, the impact was significant. From this, it seemed that this Aaron was the instigator of the trouble. Hearing this, old Lu kicked him again. You weren't the leader? The troublemakers have all exposed you, and you still won't admit it? Aaron wailed and howled. Master Yin, I was wrong, please spare me. Yunyan wasn't very comfortable in such a setting. She didn't know how Jiang Yinyan would deal with this person, but given Jiang Yinyan's ruthlessness, he probably wouldn't let him off lightly. Jiang Yinyan spoke, his tone very faint. I warned you once, and I told you that you'd best remember what I said. What? Did you treat it as idle chatter? The man just knelt there, repeatedly kowtowing. Yunyan's back, however, felt a chill. At this moment, she finally understood why he had called her in. These words seemed to be for Aaron, but in reality, they were for her. He had once warned her not to interact closely or ambiguously with other men, so her dining with Su Huai was a violation of his words. Yunyan's breathing quickened. Jiang Yinyan seemed to sense her tension, looked up at her, and asked with a smile, "What's wrong?" She gently shook her head, indicating nothing. Jiang Yinyan's voice was very soft. Relax. Yunyan couldn't relax at all. She forced a smile and whispered, "Why don't I wait outside for Master Yin?" "Stay here," Jiang Yinyan said. "Did I tell you to leave?" "All right." Yunyan felt his tone had grown cold. He truly was moody. Old Lu asked Jiang Yinyan how to handle it. Jiang Yinyan said indifferently, since he's tired of being a lobby manager, then he won't be one anymore. If he likes to associate with that group of people, then throw him in with them. Aaron turned pale with fright upon hearing this, pushing away the bodyguard and scrambling forward, rolling and crawling to beg for mercy. "Master Yin, please give me another chance." The bodyguards rushed forward to grab him, but he struggled violently, even managing to grab Yunyan's ankle with surprising force. "Miss, please, I beg you to put in a good word for me, please." Yunyan hadn't expected such a move from him. Startled, she froze for a moment, unable to move. Jiang Yinyan, however, frowned and kicked him. The kick was forceful, and the man was violently sent sprawling. He writhed on the ground in pain. Jiang Yinyan pulled Yunyan up and then stood himself. Yunyan noticed his face was icy cold, his eyes and brows tinged with frost, and her heart was filled with trepidation. Seeing him walk towards the man, Yunyan grabbed his hand, unable to say anything for a moment, only shaking her head at him. Jiang Yinyan looked at her, his eyes very dark, not anger, but it made people shiver. Yunyan was startled by that look. She had seen such a look before, when he saw her being threatened with a knife. The darkness in Jiang Yinyan's eyes finally dissipated. He turned her hand over and held it, then looked up at old Lu, his tone already calm and nonchalant. "You know what to do." Old Lu replied respectfully. "Master Yin, don't worry." Yunyan didn't know what exactly old Lu was to do, because Jiang Yinyan pulled her out of the private room. The moment the door slowly closed behind them, Yunyan heard a piercing, agonizing scream from inside. Her heart trembled, and her legs went weak. Jiang Yinyan naturally put his arm around her waist, steadying her. Yunyan looked up at him in a panic, asking in a low voice, "What did you tell old Lu to do?" Jiang Yinyan didn't speak, but pulled her aside, then squatted down. Yunyan jumped, not knowing what he was going to do. Just as she was about to step back, he reached out and held her still. A moment later, he let go. She looked down at him and saw Jiang Yinyan reach out to smooth the hem of her skirt, flattening the wrinkles caused by that man earlier. Yunyan's heart felt as if it had been struck by something hard, and she froze in place, unable to move. Until Jiang Yinyan stood up, she was still staring at him in a daze. He met her gaze, his voice deep. "Yunyan, you grew up in the sunlight. I'm different from you. Even though I am now in the Jiang family, I have never believed there is light in this world. Life has never taught me civilization and elegance." Yunyan hadn't expected him to say such words, and her heart ached sharply. "Let's go, I'll take you back." His tone returned to its usual lightness. As Yunyan walked out of the restaurant, she again drew many glances. Outside the hotel, a luxury van was already waiting, providing extreme privacy. Jiang Yinyan walked ahead. Looking at his back, Yunyan suddenly felt an impulse. Jiang Yinyan. He paused, and when he turned to look at her, there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. Perhaps very few people dare to call him that anymore. Yunyan stepped forward lightly, meeting his gaze. "I know this world is terrible, but it's not that hopeless. Darkness always gives way to light, right?" Jiang Yinyan stared at her for a long time, then suddenly laughed. "The Yu family is currently being kicked while they're down. Doesn't that make you despair?" "No despair," Yunyan replied very seriously. As long as people are alive, there is hope. Jiang Yinyin looked at her for another long moment, then scoffed. But he said nothing more, only instructed, get in the car. The driver today wasn't old Liu, but like old Liu, he drove very steadily, neither rushing nor getting impatient. Once in the car, Yinyin tentatively asked him, weren't you at the old mansion? Did you come to the hotel just because of that person? Jiang Yinyin leaned back in the rear seat. He reached up and unbuttoned 2 buttons of his shirt, making him look very lazy and sexy. It was a stark contrast to his stern demeanor in the private room earlier. He said, more or less. More or less. It seemed it wasn't entirely because of dealing with that person. Yunyan had a faint premonition, but didn't ask further. Instead, Jiang Yinyin asked her, why aren't you asking anymore? Yinyin thought for a moment and said, I see you're in a bad mood, so I won't say anything else. Jiang Yinyin chuckled, reaching out to pull her into his arms, then looked down at her. Is young master Su pursuing you? Yunyan's heart skipped a beat. No, today was just a misunderstanding. No. Jiang Yinyin raised a hand to lightly brush the hair from her forehead. Yunyin, I know very well what those men are thinking when they look at you. He wrapped his large hand around the back of her head, gently cupping it, and whispered, what they want to do to you and what I want to do to you are the same. Yinyin lay still in his arms. At this moment, she would have to be out of her mind to argue with him. Primarily, she remembered old Liu's warning. She looked up slightly, her eyes rippling. Today was the first time I met Dr. Su. He's Mrs. Huang's nephew. Mrs. Huang said she wanted to treat me to a meal, and I didn't expect her to play matchmaker. Mrs. Huang wants to keep benefits within the family. Jiang Yinyin chuckled. Yinyin frowned slightly. Who are you calling benefits? That sounded rather unpleasant. Isn't that a compliment? Jiang Yinyin held her tighter, whispering into her ear with a deep laugh. You're very alluring. Yinyin immediately understood his meaning, and her cheeks flushed. She tried to sit up, but Jiang Yinyin held her waist and said, he's just a minor doctor. Even considering his family background, the Su family isn't suitable for you. So if you have a crush on that pretty boy, I advise you to drop that idea as soon as possible. Yunyin had intended to explain, but hearing him say that, she instead asked, not suitable for me? Does Master Yin think I'm not worthy of the Su family, or that the Su family isn't worthy of me? Jiang Yinyin stared at her face and said, the Yu family is a prominent family from Jiangnan, having accumulated wealth through generations of business. Their Su family's history of wealth accumulation isn't entirely glorious, so naturally, they're not worthy of the Yu family. Not glorious? Yunyin's eyes showed confusion. Didn't they start from industrial businesses? What's not glorious about that? Mrs. Huang's maiden family, the Su family, had a rather good reputation. Jiang Yinyin gazed at her. It seems you don't know much about Mrs. Huang's maiden family, yet you're desperately wanting to work hand in hand with her. Yinyin said, although I haven't investigated their roots, I know the Su family didn't start by murder and arson. Jiang Yinyin didn't argue with her further, but told her truthfully, it's not that the Su family violated the law. The Su family's patriarch, when he was young, was a corpse carrier in the mountains. Once, he took on a big job, and the old patriarch carried more than 20 corpses out of the deep mountains, earning a large box of gold cakes. That was the money he left to his descendants, which allowed them to become wealthy. Carrying corpses? Jiang Yinyin nodded slightly. It's what people commonly call corpse driving. Yinyin gasped. That was indeed the term she had just thought of. So, the Su family originally came from the Miao frontier region? Yes, Jiang Yinyin said. Later, during times of war, the Su family relocated, but the old patriarch's skill in carrying corpses was quite good, so he never lost his craft. After the Su family gradually became wealthy, rumors started circulating, saying that the Su family practiced dark arts, which was why their business was so successful. Yunyin understood. Most people familiar with the Su family also know this, and even now, there are still some rumors in the circles. Jiang Yinyin looked at her. Don't let Huang Jifa's rough face make you think he's fearless. In reality, he's quite superstitious. The reason he wanted to marry into the Su family back then was that a master told him that his astrological chart was compatible with the Su family daughter, and she would bring great prosperity to her husband after marriage. Sure enough, after Huang Jifa got married, his business flourished even more, but at the same time, he also harbored reservations about the Su family. Do you think he was only wary of the Su family's power? With that question, Yunyin understood completely. Huang Jifa believed that the Su family still possessed some dark arts. This idea was quite ridiculous, but given Huang Jifa's way of doing things, he truly believed this claim. Yunyin smiled. Now about your Yu family. Jiang Yinyin raised a hand to gently caress her cheek. The Yu family ancestors served as officials in the imperial court, with records of their benevolent deeds and political achievements in local gazettes. Later, they abandoned officialdom for commerce, aiding the granaries of the world, and distributing porridge in years of great disaster, earning the praise and support of the common people. So, fundamentally speaking, the Su family is not on the same level as the Yu family. It was rare for Jiang Yinyan to speak so much, and Yunyan had never imagined he knew so much about the Yu family situation. Since even you admit the integrity of the Yu family, then my father. Yunyan's words stopped abruptly as Jiang Yinyan's face suddenly turned cold. His gaze towards her was tinged with chill, and the rest of her words died in her throat. Your father, Yu Yuan, disgraced the integrity of the Yu family ancestors, Jiang Yinyan said word by word. His virtue does not match his reputation. How did my father disgrace his reputation? Yunyan said displeased, sitting upright from his embrace and staring at him. Jiang Yinyan stared back at her, his brow stern. For a moment, Yunyan actually saw killing intent. A cold sweat broke out on her back, but eventually, Jiang Yinyan's expression softened, returning to his usual indifference. Yunyan, his tone was cool. I don't want to bring up this topic again in the future, so you'd best not ask about it either. Yunyan's chest felt tight. Who had brought up this topic in the first place? Besides, if he had the courage, he should say it. What kind of logic was it to hide things? Even a death row inmate gets a chance for a suspended death sentence, right? Although Yunyan fundamentally didn't believe her father could do anything heinous. Jiang Yinyan glanced at her, sneering. A chance for the Yu family to reprieve their death sentence? I've already given it. Haven't I kept you by my side? The atmosphere, which had been somewhat amicable, instantly dropped to freezing point. Perhaps what she called amicable was just Yunyan's illusion. There was simply no amity to speak of between her and Jiang Yinyan. It wasn't old Lu driving. Yunyan didn't recognize him. Even if Jiang Yinyan's voice was low, they were still in the car, making Yunyan feel awkward for a moment. But at the same time, she was very clear-headed. Just now, when Jiang Yinyan squatted down to smooth the creases in her skirt, she had a momentary daze, as if she had returned to the past, when he always took meticulous care of her. But at this moment, she finally understood. His gentleness was just the kind he showed when he was in a good mood, teasing kittens and puppies. The moment a word or action displeased him, his coldness and harshness were laid bare. Yunyan was also angered by these words, glaring at him. Jiang Yinyan, don't go too far. Jiang Yinyan narrowed his eyes slightly, staring at her, the curve of his chin sharp and cold as his thin lips pressed together. It sent shivers down one's spine. The driver in front kept his eyes straight ahead, but a faint sweat beaded on his forehead. Jiang Yinyan's driver had always been fixed, always old Lu. Today was a special situation. The one driving in old Lu's place was old Lu's apprentice, who had been with old Lu for quite some time. It wasn't that he hadn't driven for Jiang Yinyan before. When his master had temporary business, he could step in without issue. But the previous times, Jiang Yinyan had been alone in the car, and the entire drive had been very quiet, without the slightest disturbance. His master had instructed him that young master Yin always preferred quiet, so when driving for him, he absolutely shouldn't chatter. And he shouldn't look at anything, whether he should or shouldn't, nor should he be curious about young Master Yan's affairs. But even though he hadn't served young Master Yan for long, he knew that no one dared to speak to young Master Yan like this, let alone call him by his full name. Wouldn't everyone respectfully address him as young Master Yan upon meeting him? Sweat beaded on the young driver's forehead, about to drip, but he didn't dare lift a hand to wipe it. He wondered if he should find a dim spot to pull over and wipe his sweat while young Master Yan wasn't looking. Even he could sense the tension in the car cabin, his heart screaming, Master, oh Master, it's not that I want to listen. Isn't the situation just constantly pouring into my ears? Jiang Yinyan spoke, his tone cold, Xiaobai. The young driver startled. Yes, young Master Yan, your command. It scared him half to death. Did young Master Yan actually know who he was? Then he thought, isn't that obvious? A person of young Master Yan's status would naturally know who was driving him. How much longer? Jiang Yinyan asked, still staring at Yunyan, his voice deep and chilling. Xiaobai immediately replied. The navigation shows 40 more minutes. Afraid young Master Yan would find the time too long, Xiaobai added. Young Master Yan, I'll drive faster. Jiang Yinyan ordered blandly, get on the 4th ring road and drive a loop. Xiaobai almost lost control and swerved, but being someone trained by old Lu, he managed to compose himself. He said, yes, young Master Yan. So he promptly got on the service road to find a U-turn. Yunyan felt uneasy and subconsciously looked out the window. The car was already heading towards the 4th ring road, which meant turning back to get on the 4th ring road again, and then doing a whole loop. Yunyan felt dizzy. Although it was late, Beishir got livelier the deeper into the night it got. A loop around the 4th ring road would add another hour. Young Master Yin, Xiaobai couldn't help but remind him, there seems to have been an accident on the 4th ring road. If we get on it now, we might get stuck in traffic. Yunyan's heart sank. Jiang Yinyan's face hardened. Just drive where I tell you to. Xiao Bai cursed himself inwardly for speaking out. What are you trying to do? Yunyan asked, frowning. Jiang Yinyan looked languid again, lightly raising a hand to raise the privacy partition. A completely enclosed space with only him and her. Yunyan grew alert, alarm bells ringing loudly in her mind. His instruction to drive a loop around the fourth ring road clearly meant to extend the journey time, and then raising the privacy partition, his intentions couldn't be clearer. Such actions, whether the partition was raised or not, the driver in front would know perfectly well. Yunyan's breathing quickened, her back pressed tightly against the car door. The road was clear, the car moving at a decent speed. She wasn't foolish enough to jump out. Jiang Yinyan sneered. Yunyan, you just said I was going too far. Don't forget, you willingly offered yourself up for me to bully, didn't you? Yunyan felt the pain as if she'd been stabbed. He extended a large hand, grasping the back of her head and pulling her into his embrace, lowering his head to gaze at her. Willingly becoming my mistress. Willingly letting me have you. Yunyan was filled with humiliation, imagining that such verbal abuse would be frequent over the coming year. Yes, those who offer themselves aren't worth much. She deserved to be trampled on and insulted by him. Yunyan lowered her eyes, and as she thought, she suddenly smiled. It was a helpless smile, her eyes slightly red-rimmed. Indeed, what right did she have now to negotiate terms with Jiang Yinyan? In all of Beishur, and not just Beishur, he wielded immense power. If she angered him, it would be child's play for him to crush her in Wanzhou. Seeing her smile, yet with a hint of tears in her eyes, a wave of irritation rose in his chest. Feeling wronged? Yunyan, you chose this path yourself. Who are you playing pitiful and innocent for now? If you find it painful to stay by my side, you can leave. Yunyan suddenly looked up at him, a glimmer of light shining in her eyes. Seeing this, Jiang Yinyan's irritation intensified. He sneered, staring at the light in her eyes, and said word by word, but I can guarantee your Yu family will have no chance of making a comeback. When he finished speaking, he was gratified to see the light in Yunyan's eyes slowly extinguish. Good, this was exactly what he wanted. He wanted her to know that there was no hope in this world, and all she could do was struggle in despair. The only way to survive was to cling to him, treating him as her last piece of driftwood. He gripped her chin, his thin lips descended, saying softly, "So don't even think about leaving me, unless you have the means to leave me. Otherwise, you are my plaything." A flicker of resentment appeared in Yunyan's eyes, but it quickly died out. Without light, her eyes were like a dry well. "Take them off." Jiang Yinyan's gaze slid down her cheek. Her skin was too pale. When she was emotional, it would turn slightly pink. He remembered her cheeks and neck were also this pink when she was passionate, so tender one would want to swallow her whole. Jiang Yinyan's gaze at her deepened, and his commanding voice grew hoarse. Yunyan knew resistance was futile, but she still made a last attempt. She lowered her eyes, almost pleading, "Can we not do it in the car?" "Fine." Jiang Yinyan chuckled softly. "Let's go back to my place." "No. You choose, in the car, or you come back with me," or Jiang Yinyan leaned closer to her, "at your home." Yunyan flinched, shaking her head repeatedly. "What are you afraid of?" Jiang Yinyan narrowed his eyes slightly. Yunyan said with difficulty, "My place isn't convenient. There are many neighbors." "Afraid of you Wanzhou seeing you?" Jiang Yinyan raised a hand to toy with her earlobe. The softness between his fingers made his mind waver. Yunyan pressed her lips together, and, after a long moment, said, "I don't want Azhou to see my disgrace." Jiang Yinyan scoffed, his long fingers slipping into her collar. "Disgraceful?" "Yunyan, give me an answer soon, or I'll decide for you." Yunyan's heart pounded like thunder, a surge of tears rising only to be fiercely suppressed. Jiang Yinyan lost his patience, reaching out to lower the partition. Yunyan immediately grabbed his wrist, her voice trembling. "In the car, young Master Yin, right here in the car." Jiang Yinyan smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. He withdrew his hand and leaned back slightly. "Good." Outside the car window, neon lights glittered, light and shadow hitting the glass, scattering rings of light. Inside the car, Yunyan, with trembling fingers, removed her clothes piece by piece. Jiang Yinyan watched the woman in the light and shadow, a dark glint flickering in his eyes. He said hoarsely, "Be more proactive." Yunyan gritted her teeth and actively moved on to him. Under the cover of night, the car moved like a fish. Inside the car, passion and heat intensified, growing more fervent. Xiaobai didn't just drive one loop on the fourth ring road. Before the privacy partition was lowered, he didn't dare get off the fourth ring road at all, so he just kept driving aimlessly around it. Even with the privacy partition up, Xiaobai's heart was itching with curiosity. Especially when the car slowed down, he would occasionally feel the car shaking. He sighed inwardly, Even this car model is rocking from the vibrations. Young Master Yan's stamina is truly formidable. Xiao Bai then thought of Yun Yan. When she first got into the car, he'd glanced at her in the rearview mirror. He'd heard of Miss Yu, and had seen her from afar a few times before, thinking she was impossibly beautiful. Now, seeing her up close like this, he marveled even more that such a beautiful woman could exist in this world. The alluring charm in her eyes and brows, combined with her piteous vulnerability, was almost a hook, making it impossible for men to resist. No wonder young Master Yin, who never kept women around, kept her uniquely by his side. Xiao Bai deliberately slowed down the car, allowing him to feel the car shaking again. He was also an age of vigorous youth. Imagining Yun Yan disheveled, he felt his blood boiling throughout his body. He definitely had to ask his master another day. Well, my master often picks up and drops off such an alluring woman. Doesn't he ever get any ideas? He didn't believe it. Jiang Nianyan was finally sated, like a beast that had devoured its prey whole. Only after he had his fill did the car drive to Yun Yan's building downstairs. It was already the middle of the night. No one would be out at this hour, and the neighborhood was very quiet. Yun Yan was like a fish pulled on ashore, drenched and powerless, collapsing in Jiang Yinyan's arms. Jiang Yinyan stroked her soft, delicate back, chuckling softly, "Come back with me." Yun Yan used her remaining strength to get off him. The flush on her face not yet dissipated. She said softly, "I want to go home." Compared to her disheveled state, Jiang Yinyan appeared much more composed and elegant. He was somewhat gentler afterward, wiping themselves clean. He zipped up his pants, and while adjusting his shirt, looked at her with a smile. "Do you have the strength to go upstairs?" Yun Yan got up and dressed. Suppressing her trembling legs, she said softly, "No need for young Master Yin to worry." When she got out of the car, she almost lost her footing, luckily steadying herself against the car. Yun Yan felt utterly hollowed out. Every time she was intimate with him, it was an emptying out of her body and mind. She always needed a deep sleep to regain her strength. Jiang Yinyan also got out of the car and called out to her. The late autumn night was cool. Yun Yan, covered in sweat, suddenly felt cold as the night breeze hit her. She was truly in a state of disarray, while Jiang Yinyan, already fully dressed, his shirt making his figure look perfectly straight, had returned to his usual ascetic detachment. There was no hint of the wolf-like intensity he displayed for several hours in the car. He stepped forward, draped his jacket over her, and reached out to smooth her hair, his eyes seemingly lit by starlight. This gesture was oddly intimate, like that of a lover. "I don't need. Wear it." Jiang Yinyan interrupted her, a clear command conveyed in his understated tone. Yun Yan didn't struggle. She had no strength, and she was indeed cold. Jiang Yinyan, seeing the weariness on her brow, smiled with pressed lips. "Are you really sure you don't need me to see you up?" "No need," Yun Yan immediately said. Jiang Yinyan thought for a moment, didn't press the issue, and said, "All right." Then he stroked her head. "Rest well at home. In a couple of days, come out with me for a trip." Yun Yan was startled. "Where to?" "Nanzhou, to discuss a project." Yun Yan looked at him in surprise. "Don't you rarely show up for project negotiations?" "This project is different," Jiang Yinyan said blandly. "Besides, I don't show my face in the media, but I still need to follow up on some projects. I'm not the god of wealth. I can't just sit still and make money, can I?" Jiang Yinyan rarely joked. At least Yun Yan hadn't hurt him much. Even when he was at the Yu family before, he was meticulous. After hearing his words, she actually wanted to laugh, but if she laughed, it would be inappropriate, so she held it back. "Can I not go?" Yun Yan thought of the pile of things still needing attention with Yuan Zhou. "No." Jiang Yinyan was direct. Yun Yan was on the verge of tears. "Young Master Yin, you're the one discussing a project. Why bring me along?" Jiang Yinyan moved closer to her, pulling her in front of him with a hand, leaning down and chuckling softly, "To bring you along, and do you?" The vulgar words, coming from his sensual voice, only added to his allure. Yun Yan flinched and pushed him away. Jiang Yinyan didn't get angry, watching her with a smile. "What is there to be embarrassed about? I'm going upstairs." Yun Yan didn't want to argue with him anymore, turned and left. Jiang Yinyan said behind her, "I'll let you know before we leave." Yun Yan neither nodded nor shook her head, simply forcing her weary body into the apartment building. Once inside her door, Yun Yan felt as if she had used every last bit of her strength. She didn't even turn on the lights, collapsing onto the bed, unable to move. She felt like she was sinking into a ball of cotton. Her limbs wanted to move, but unable to. Her whole body just kept sinking. The world spun around her. After intense pleasure came deep exhaustion, and her lower abdomen throbbed with a dull ache. She lay on the bed, heard her phone ringing, but had no strength to answer. The phone rang several more times, then stopped. Yun Yan had a faint feeling in her heart, her intuition telling her to answer the phone quickly, but her body was simply too tired. Her fingers felt as if they couldn't move. She was terribly sleepy. The moment she closed her eyes, she fell asleep. But she hadn't slept for long when she vaguely heard the doorbell ringing. It must be a dream. Who would come at this late hour? Yuan-zhou and Xiaomin both had keys to the house. If they came, they wouldn't ring the doorbell. What if someone knocking at such a late hour wasn't a good person? She'd play dead. It was safest to deal with whatever came by doing nothing. But soon, the doorbell turned into knocking, accompanied by a voice, Yunyan. Yunyan jolted upright from the bed, no longer caring about her discomfort, her entire being suddenly alert. After confirming there was indeed someone knocking, Yunyan walked to the entryway and looked through the peephole, astonished. She opened the door. Standing outside was Jiang Yinyan. The moment the door opened, Yunyan seemed to see a hint of relief in his eyes. Or had she misread him? But Jiang Yinyan's expression suddenly darkened. Though his voice was low, his displeasure was obvious. Why didn't you answer the phone? Yunyan was stunned. After a long pause, she asked, Is something wrong? At her question, Jiang Yinyan's face grew even darker. He frowned and said coldly, Remember, you are not to ignore my calls from now on. After saying that, he turned and left. Reaching the elevator and seeing her still standing there in a daze, he called out softly again, Close the door properly and go inside. All right. Yunyan felt somewhat disoriented. By the time she returned to her bedroom, she was a bit unsure if what had just happened was a dream or reality. Everything had happened too suddenly. Yunyan pulled her phone out her bag. She saw that it was indeed Jiang Yinyan who had called. There was also an unread message, also from Jiang Yinyan. Are you inside? Yunyan understood instantly. She remembered it was the same last time. For a moment, she had a mix of emotions. But on second thought, she couldn't be moved. Everything he did was just to hurt her more effectively. Yunyan told herself over and over. Yes, isn't the most interesting way to hunt to fatten up the prey first? If something happened to her, wouldn't he lose his plaything? So naturally, he wouldn't just watch her get into trouble. Yunyan brought Mrs. Huang to the sanatorium. Located in the most secluded scenic area of Beishur, it was the most professional institution nationwide for treating and accompanying patients with cognitive degeneration. Yunyan's mother, Song Lan, was a renowned lady from a prominent family, widely praised for her vast knowledge and refined conduct. But after the Yu family's downfall, she was scared into illness by debt collectors who came to their home, her mind severely traumatized. Initially, she was disoriented, then she stopped recognizing people much. Her memories of the Yu family were intermittent. It was confirmed that Song Lan's brain function was gradually degenerating. That was the most difficult time for Yuan-zhou and Yunyan. On one hand, they had to deal with their father's affairs, and on the other, find a doctor for their mother. They had almost exhausted all famous doctors, but the current treatment options had minimal effect. The best approach was to maintain the status quo. Eventually, Yunyan and Yuan-zhou arranged for their mother to be admitted to this sanatorium. The environment was naturally beyond words, but more importantly, the doctors here were all experts in neuroscience. Seeing Song Lan in a sanatorium was something Mrs. Huang had never imagined. She knew Song Lan would definitely be hit hard by the Yu family's downfall. Given her personality, she would most likely find a place to live alone. But she had never, ever imagined Song Lan would be in a place like this. Mrs. Huang's face was filled with shock. Sister Lan, Yunyan sighed. My mother's condition has never been publicly disclosed, so I never bring old acquaintances here. Besides her and Yuan-zhou, the only other person who could visit Song Lan here was Xiaomin. Her mother liked Xiaomin. Every time she saw Xiaomin, she would smile cheerfully. Xiaomin was also sweet-mouthed and visited frequently. Sometimes she would come by herself if she couldn't wait for Yunyan, and everyone at the institution knew Xiaomin. Yunyan also hoped Xiaomin would visit the sanatorium more often. Her idea was a bit selfish, but she had told Xiaomin about it. She said that the Yu family now had neither financial resources nor influence. Although the sanatorium wouldn't discriminate based on wealth, having someone with authority frequently coming and going would still have a deterrent effect to some extent. Before Yunyan brought Mrs. Huang to the sanatorium, she had already informed the staff. As Song Lan's identity and condition were both special, the sanatorium was exceptionally vigilant, exercising caution in all aspects, especially regarding visits. The staff needed to ensure that visitors would not agitate the patient's emotions. Song Lan went to the flower room early in the morning. Yunyan told Mrs. Huang that this was her mother's favorite place to be at the sanatorium. There were several rare and exotic plants in the flower room, all of which her mother had brought back to life after arriving. Mrs. Huang sighed, saying, when your mother was at the Yu family home, she loved tending to flowers and plants the most. Even plants that couldn't be kept alive or didn't thrive will be meticulously cared for by your mother. The former Yu family ancestral home was designed as a Jiangnan garden, and the scenery was, of course, unparalleled. But the most eye-catching feature was undoubtedly the Yu family's garden. Besides the gardener's efforts, her mother also poured a great deal of her heart and soul into it. Her mother loved exotic flowers and plants, so she planted many in the garden, and they all thrived vigorously. At the sanatorium, her mother hadn't forgotten her knack for loving and planting flowers, but she simply couldn't remember people. Yunyan had once broken down, crying day in and day out. She asked the sanatorium staff, "Why can Mother remember flowers and plants, but not us?" The sanatorium staff had no answer for this, attributing it simply to brain memory and function. Later, Yuanzhou said something that brought Yunyan peace. "Mother went through terrible things. It might be a good thing that she forgot. At least she's alive, and we still have a relative in this world." Yes, nothing is more important than being alive. Even though Song Lan was in the sanatorium, her demeanor was different from that of ordinary patients. Though she was elderly, she didn't look old at all, possessing the graceful charm of a Jiangnan woman and the intellectual elegance of a cultured lady. Coupled with her meticulous self-care in her youth, Song Lan appeared a decade or so younger than her peers. Today, Song Lan wore a smoky blue qipao, and as the weather grew colder, she had a purple shawl draped over her shoulders. Surrounded by flowers and plants, sunlight gently filtered through the glass roof. The crisp morning light softly illuminated Song Lan. Song Lan's physician led Yunyan and Mrs. Huang to the flower room. What Mrs. Huang saw was Song Lan sitting on a chair, tending to a small potted plant, her eyes gentle, a faint, contented smile on her face. Mrs. Huang felt both a pang of sorrow and admiration. She said, "Sister Lan, no matter when or where, her aura is always the most refined. Her temperament is also very good. She never loses her temper, quite unlike other patients. Everyone here likes her very much," the physician said softly. "It's just that sometimes she can be quite stubborn. Even when it's cold, she absolutely refuses to wear thick clothes." Mrs. Huang smiled bitterly, looking at Yunyan. "Your mother was particularly fond of beauty, especially wearing qipaos." Yunyan nodded gently. "Yes, and Mother is originally from Jiangnan, so she's long been accustomed to its climate." She said to the physician, "Perhaps Mother thinks this is still Jiangnan. Please bear with her usual habits." "Don't worry," the physician replied. The visiting time couldn't be too long. The physicians were concerned that outside information might disturb or even agitate Song Lan. Only after countless admonitions did the physician feel reassured enough to leave. Yunyan and Mrs. Huang entered the flower room. The flower room was not damp or stuffy. The autumn climate in North City was relatively dry, making the air in the flower room much more pleasant. There was a fresh scent of vegetation and the subtle fragrance of chrysanthemums and orchids. A more profound, subtle elegance emanated from Song Lan herself. She was so refined that everyone in the sanatorium secretly referred to her as a deep valley orchid. Yunyan stepped forward softly, squatted gently before Song Lan's chair, and took her hand. "Mother." Song Lan's gaze fell on Yunyan's face. She looked at her for a long time, her beautiful, dark eyebrows slightly furrowed. After a while, she withdrew her hand, said nothing, and regarded Yunyan as if she weren't there. Mrs. Huang was stunned by this. Yunyan, however, seemed accustomed to it. She wasn't disheartened. Instead, she smiled and said, "You've brought another plant back to life?" It was the pot beside her hand, with tiny sprouts emerging from the soil. Song Lan remained silent, picked up the small pot again, and smiled as she looked at the tender sprouts. It would be a lie to say Yunyan wasn't pained. Her mother's gaze was soft, but it wasn't directed at her. "Mother, a friend has come to see you today," Yunyan said softly. Mrs. Huang stepped forward, bending slightly. "Sister Lan, do you still remember me?" Upon hearing this, Song Lan looked up at her. After a long gaze, her eyes moved away again, with the same lack of reaction as when she saw Yunyan. "It's Mrs. Huang, Su Yun." Song Lan still showed no reaction, meticulously tending to the sprouts in the pot, her gaze as gentle as if she were looking at a newborn child. Mrs. Huang grew a little anxious and extended the bracelet on her wrist towards Song Lan. "Sister Lan, look, do you remember this bracelet?" Yunyan felt a faint unease at this sight, but it was too late to intervene. Song Lan's expression suddenly changed, her breathing quickened, and she let out a horrified cry, immediately trying to rush out of the flower room. Yunyan quickly embraced her, reassuring her, it's okay, relax, relax." But Song Lan seemed to have been greatly agitated, screaming hysterically. Her strength was unexpectedly great, and she actually pushed Yunyan away with force. Yunyan lost her balance and fell to the ground, her wrist getting scratched. But she paid no mind to her own injury, quickly got up to pull Song Lan, and soon the physicians, hearing the commotion, rushed over and took Song Lan out of the flower room. Mrs. Huang remained frozen in place, taking a long time to react, her eyes suddenly reddening. She appeared deeply remorseful, repeatedly explaining to Yunyan that she truly hadn't expected this to happen. She only wanted Song Lan to remember her. Yunyan didn't blame her, saying softly, "Perhaps the bracelet is connected to the Yu family's past, so it's normal for Mother to become agitated when she sees it." But Mrs. Huang felt incredibly apologetic. She had kindly intended to reminisce with Song Lan, only to find that things had changed, people were different, and she had agitated Song Lan so much, even causing Yunyan to get hurt. Less than an hour later, Yu Wanzhou drove over. He had heard about his mother's situation and, without a word, abandoned his dinner engagement to rush to the sanatorium. By the time he arrived, Song Lan had already returned to her room and gone to sleep. The doctors had carefully calmed her down, and only then did everything settle. Yu Wanzhou observed Song Lan through the glass window on her room door for a long time. Seeing her sleeping peacefully, the weight in his heart finally lifted. Yunyan's wrist wound had also been treated. Yu Wanzhou stepped forward, gently held her arm, and looked at it. Yunyan said, "It's fine, just a scratch. I've already had a tetanus shot." "That's good." Yu Wanzhou sighed softly. Mrs. Huang was still feeling guilty, and seeing Yu Wanzhou rush over, still dusty from his journey, made her feel even worse. Yu Wanzhou said, "Actually, even now, none of us, including the doctors, can pinpoint Mother's emotional triggers. It's not as if she gets agitated every time she sees someone or something related to the Yu family. So, Mrs. Huang, you don't need to feel guilty." Mrs. Huang felt extremely pained. After a long silence, she asked them, "Did anything else happen when the Yu family had its troubles? Why is Sister Lan like this?" The path of business is full of ups and downs. Anyone entering the market is bound to experience setbacks. The Yu family's storms were indeed significant, enough to overwhelm anyone. However, the Yu family had not always had smooth sailing. They had faced difficulties before. As the matriarch of the Yu family, her psychological resilience was definitely stronger than that of an ordinary person. Unless something even worse had happened. Yunyan's brows furrowed in thought. She said softly, "Perhaps Father's passing was the last straw for Mother." "Mrs. Huang, you know that my parents always had a very loving relationship." Mrs. Huang nodded. That was indeed true. Who in the entire business circle didn't know that the richest man in Jiangnan doted on his wife? It wasn't about deliberately crafting an image. He genuinely showered his wife with affection in every way. A man so successful in his career outside could cancel important banquets just to accompany his wife, and would be there immediately whenever she needed him. It was said that Yu Yuan spared no effort in pursuing Song Lan back then, and after he won his beloved wife, he cherished her immensely. In Yunyan's heart, her parents' relationship was enviable. In her memory, they had never once argued. If her mother became unhappy, her father would immediately admit his mistake to avoid any marital conflict. What father loved to eat was always what mother loved to eat. What father paid attention to was always what mother enjoyed. After being cared for by such a man for most of her life, which woman could endure such a loss? Mrs. Huang sighed. They say no couple can exist without grievances, but Mr. and Mrs. Yu must have shared a profound destiny in a past life to love each other so deeply in this one. Alas, deep love and shallow fate. The world plays tricks on people. Is there no better way? Or perhaps we could look abroad, Mrs. Huang suggested. Yu Wanzhou said softly, "As of now, there aren't any significantly better methods internationally. Clinical cases are too few, so most of the time, we can only wait." Mrs. Huang sighed. She truly wanted to have a good talk with Song Lan, to reminisce about the past and discuss the future. At this moment, she finally understood why Yunyan had looked so troubled when she suggested seeing Song Lan. This made Mrs. Huang feel even more indebted to the Yu siblings. Mrs. Huang had her driver with her, so after seeing her into the car, Yunyan and Yu Wanzhou spoke with Song Lan's chief physician. The chief physician was well acquainted with them both, and asked, "Ms. Song's current condition is quite special. She seems to have an extraordinary fondness for flowers and plants. I mean, it's even more intense than the preference she showed when she first arrived at the sanatorium. Was she always like this?" Yunyan didn't find this strange. Yu Wanzhou informed the doctor, "My mother genuinely liked them before. She was in charge of the family garden, deciding which seedlings to get and what kind of flowers to cultivate. They had also discussed her preferences with the doctors initially." The doctor nodded. "I understand that. My point is, does she used to dedicate most of her energy to flowers and plants?" It was only after the doctor's question that Yunyan realized. She hesitated. It seems Mother really did like spending time in the garden, apart from necessary social engagements. But she had been away at school for many years, so she couldn't be entirely sure about this. Yu Wanzhou only had a vague memory that whenever they returned home, if there weren't any social gatherings, their mother would always be in the garden. But was there a problem with that? "It's just a hobby, isn't it?" Yunyan asked, puzzled. The doctor pondered for a moment, then asked them, Who was closest to your mother? That is, someone who could be with her every day. Although they were her children, they were either at school or working with their father in the company. To speak of someone who could always be by their mother's side. The old housekeeper, Yuan-jo recalled. The doctor suggested, if you can reach the housekeeper, it would be best to ask clearly how long Ms. Song used to spend in the garden every day. Yuan-jo said okay, and then got up to make the call. Contacting the old housekeeper wasn't difficult. When only Yun-yin and the doctor remained, Yun-yin asked with a worried expression, Doctor, has there been any new development with my mother's condition? Don't be nervous, the doctor said. I just want to delve deeper into Ms. Song's past habits to open up new avenues of thought. Yun-yin nodded gently. But even though the doctor said so, she still felt a faint unease in her heart, unable to pinpoint why. After a while, Yuan-jo returned. He had spoken with the old housekeeper and informed the doctor. The housekeeper said that when Mother was at the old residence, she indeed spent most of her time in the garden. Many of the flowers and plants were personally cared for by her. She never entrusted them to the gardeners. If there were no social engagements, she could stay in the garden all day, only leaving when called for a meal, and sometimes she wouldn't even eat. The old housekeeper remembered Songlan's preferences and habits clearly. After all, he had served the Yu family from his youth to old age, having only ever served the Yu family his entire life. The old housekeeper was also ill and living with his children. Hearing it was Yuan-jo calling, he struggled to sit up, wanting to reminisce with him. He prattled on about many things concerning Songlan, and when mentioning her preferences, it was always flowers and plants. Madame simply loved it. From the day she married into the Yu family, she loved spending time in the garden. Sometimes, she wouldn't even keep the master company, but the master adored her. When he wasn't busy, he would sit with Madame in the garden, chatting. They were very loving. Madame was so good to everyone in the Yu household. Any servant who left the Yu family would surely miss it. If possible, everyone wished to work for the Yu family their entire lives. Although Madame didn't cook often, her soups were very delicious. She actually knew how to make various nutritious soups. Once, she made a stomach-nourishing soup for the master, and he loved it. But what? Yuan-jo asked the housekeeper over the phone. The housekeeper said, but I remember clearly that Madame actually rarely made soup for the master. It only happened once or twice. The master liked it after he drank it, but in the evenings, the two of them would always have a few disagreements. Yuan-jo was surprised to hear this on the phone. He had never known his parents to argue. The old housekeeper said, they almost never argued, only once or twice. The master doted on Madame so much. How could he bear to make her sad? Songlan had shed tears in the garden once. The old housekeeper was frightened when he saw it, but Songlan reassured him, saying it was nothing, just a plant dying. That night, the master didn't come home and didn't know his wife had cried. Yuan-jo recounted these events to the doctor in detail. The doctor pondered for a long time, then asked him in return, has Ms. Song ever cried over a dead plant again? It had. The old housekeeper said that Songlan used to love growing a type of orchid that was extremely difficult to cultivate. Every time it died, Madame would cry. It's strange, too. The climate and soil in Jiangnan are so nourishing for people, yet that particular orchid just wouldn't thrive there. The gardener later told Madame that this orchid had a unique temperament. Unlike other orchids, it only liked dry climates and wasn't suited for the humid weather of the south, so it was normal for it not to survive. But Songlan insisted on cultivating that orchid. Not only did she meticulously care for it, but she practically wished to be with it day and night. Whenever it was windy or rainy, Songlan would be on edge, afraid the orchid roots would be drowned by the rainwater. But no matter how carefully it was nurtured, the orchid's lifespan was at most 1 year. Every time an orchid died, Madame would cry. She would cry for the orchid once every year, always in late autumn, the old housekeeper recalled. The doctor asked what kind of orchid it was. Yuan-jo showed the doctor a photo sent by the old housekeeper on his phone. In the photo was a rather delicate pot, and inside it was a very ordinary orchid, looking at first glance like 2 blades of grass. The doctor was puzzled. This? Yun-yin leaned in a look. She found this orchid familiar, as if she'd seen it in the garden of the old residence. But wasn't it just a very ordinary orchid? What was special about it? Suddenly recalling the potted plant her mother had just been holding, she gasped. There's one in the flower room too, isn't there? That very small seedling. Like 2 blades of green grass. The doctor suddenly remembered. It seems that's right. Then he added, why did your mother like this kind of orchid? A simple question, yet it stumped Yun-yin and Yuan-jo. Yes, why did she like it? Or rather, why the preference? Even the old housekeeper couldn't answer this question. After getting back into the car, Yuan-jo didn't rush to drive. Instead, he called everyone who had been close to his mother in the past, mainly the servants who had attended to her at the old residence. They all stated they didn't know, but they also found the question quite strange, asking Yuan-jo in return, didn't Madame just like growing flowers? People who grow flowers might be more obsessive, The harder it is to keep a plant alive, the more they want to grow it. This was common thinking. Unable to get a clearer answer, even the doctor could only temporarily offer this explanation. The elders of the Song family had all passed away, and relatives were dwindling. Only one distant relative remained in the country, who also didn't really understand Songland's situation. But they mentioned something unexpected. Your mother, in her youth, I never saw her fond of flowers and plants. It was before her marriage. I went to your grandmother's house, and her room never had any flowers or plants. If she truly liked them, she'd surely have kept many. Yunyan also hadn't heard that her maternal grandmother liked growing flowers. Perhaps that's the reason? Yuanzhou hesitated. Yunyan recalled the pot of grass, truly not finding it particularly attractive, and asked Yuanzhou, did the housekeeper say what that orchid looked like when it bloomed? Yuanzhou said, the housekeeper said that in all the years mother raised that orchid, he never saw it bloom, so he doesn't know what kind of flowers it produces. So an obsession? For mother to grow that orchid, she must have seen its beauty. To consistently fail and yet insist on cultivating it, that truly was a challenge for a gardening expert. But is it really worth crying over if it dies? Yunyan genuinely didn't understand this. She had heard of Daiyu burying flowers, which was in line with her character. But her mother wasn't a delicate, frail woman. She was open-minded in her dealings with people. How could she cry repeatedly for an orchid that wouldn't survive? Could it be some kind of... Yunyan hesitated. She didn't finish her sentence, but Yuanzhou understood what she was implying. He thought for a moment, then shook his head. We've all seen it. Their relationship was very good. There was no third party involved. No, I didn't mean a third party. Yunyan sighed softly. I'm just wondering if mother had some kind of spiritual solace or a belief, something like that. Of course, I'm not denying my parents' relationship. Yuanzhou fell in a deep thought. If even the housekeeper, who served their mother daily, didn't know about this, then others would be even less likely to know. For now, this behavior isn't causing mother too much distress. Let's observe for a while, Yuanzhou said. Yunyan nodded gently. Yuanzhou turned to look at her, gently taking her hand, carefully avoiding the wound on her wrist. Next time you come to the sanatorium, let me know, and I'll come with you. This time was just an accident, Yunyan smiled. Yuanzhou gazed at her, and as he watched, he reached out and embraced her tightly. Yunyan didn't know what was wrong with him, and gently patted his back. Are you trying to strangle me? Yuanzhou didn't let go of her, holding her tightly all the while, and whispered, Yunyan, I just hope you can be safe and sound. Please don't let anything happen to you. In this world, apart from you, I have no other family. Yunyan sighed. Nonsense. How can you say you have no family? Yuanzhou's back subtly tensed. After a long time, he released her, but not entirely, his cheek almost touching hers, a deep pain in his eyes. Seeing him like this, Yunyan couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. Yuanzhou said, Yunyan, I only have you. In this life, I only want you. I don't care about anyone else.